Hello and welcome to the CM0102 Super League preview show. We are now into season 9 and it's been a few weeks since the Devils clinched the trophy in season 8, but there's been a lot going on behind the scenes. As has been mentioned a lot on Twitter. There are new managers, there are new players, there are new tactics. But we are going to have the same laughs, the same banter, and the same drama for the next 20-odd weeks, however long it takes for me and Ryan to conclude this season. Before we start letting this fine array of some of the game's greatest managers have their say on what's going to happen over the next few months, I just want to send a little condolence message to Hull's boss Jens, who's had some bad news today. On behalf of everyone at the Super League, sending our best wishes to him and his family. Well, I'm pleased to say we have, aside from me, we have one former winner. We have one brand new manager, we have one in his first full season, and we have some of these stalwarts that have made the Super League what it is. So I'll go through one at a time and just say hello. So hello, Greavesy, how are you, pal?
I'm all right, buddy. How are you?
Very well, thank you for joining me. Hello, Scott.
Evening, pal. Evening, everybody.
Got Steve Wright with us as well. How are you, pal?
I'm all right. Evening, all.
Absolutely chomping at the bit to get going. Duggan is with us.
Evening, lads. How are we doing?
Jamie, despite everything unravelling before him, it seems, has still got a smile on his face.
Always smiling, Fife, you know that.
Plato looking calm and relaxed, but I'm sure he's very excitable on the inside. How are you, pal?
Yeah, not bad, thanks, mate. Nice to be here.
Someone who's always calm on the outside is Ian.
Evening, everyone.
And finally, one of the league's big characters, Maka, is also able to join us as well. How are you, pal?
Surprisingly calm tonight, Pfeiffer. How are you?
Yes, very well, thank you. So we're recording this 24 hours removed from the friendlies, my first attempt at streaming. I think with the exception of maybe one or two players, everyone got through injury-free. And we can all look forward to Wednesday. Duggan, I'll ask you first, as a brand new manager, just how exciting is the fact we're on the dawn of the new season, you're taking control of the club? I know you've been watching and involved in the Super League for a couple of seasons now.
Yeah, great, mate. I think probably the kind of the consensus amongst all of us is that it probably has the potential to be the best season ever. Definitely the most competitive ever. Kind of going right back to when kind of squads were originally drawn, three seasons ago now. This seemed fairly balanced at the time. It's been great to see people have preferences in terms of transfers, and the addition of the outside the league transfers this season, I think, has been a really good addition because it's shown what kind of people's priorities were, but also their knowledge outside of what you'd expect, the kind of standard Mike Duffs and those sorts of players. So yeah, mate, it's great. It's going to be good. I think, no doubt you'll come to predictions and things tonight, but I think you could throw darts at a pinboard and get the league table, because I think it's going to be that topsy-turvy this season.
No, absolutely. And Mr. Edwards, if I can come to you, as someone who's been involved now for a long time on the complete opposite side of the scale to Duggan, do you still get that buzz on the dawn of a new season?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. And I think, however Duggan's feeling now, come Wednesday night, first game in charge, it'll be just ramped up 100 times more, because you could be playing your first game, you could be playing your 100th game, the heart starts pumping. You start, well, depending on what type of manager you are, you start fearing the worst, or you start really getting a good feeling about a particular game if you're on a good run. There's nothing quite like it. Whether you're trying to get in the top 6, whether you try to avoid the wooden spoon. It's the build-up's nice. A new season dawning's nice. A transfer window is really nice. But yeah, that first game, that kick-off, game one, new season, is brilliant and horrible at the same time.
And Jamie, I believe it must be close between the pair of you, but I believe now you're the longest serving manager.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, definitely. Now you've gone, yeah.
And do you think that that level of experience and know-how will give you any advantage whatsoever?
Definitely not.
I'm pleased to see sneaking in after we hit record is Chairman Ryan. How are you, pal?
Oh, good, mate. Just back from the gymnasium. Thought I'd dive on, see what it's all about. Hope everyone's well.
Well, while you are there, from behind the scenes, what are you looking forward to this season?
I always like the tension. It's the when it gets it's that last 10 minutes of the game when it's close and there's an upset on the cards or the team comes from behind. It's the games I really like. I really like watching the videos that people put on. I think I like all of it. I think it's really, really fun to be involved in. Yeah. I like people's cockiness when they before a game, and then how they go quiet after a game if it doesn't go their way. It's the attitude of it all.
We were hearing a few stories off camera, if you like, that there are one or two who may lose their heads early doors if this doesn't exactly go to plan. What I'd like to do is just sort of have a brief look through all of the teams with as many of the managers as we've got on as we can. And the only real sort of fair way to do it is I've got the fixture list in front of me, and if we just work through that and look at the team. So Tato, I'll come to you first. You start away at Sloths. You obviously had that little bit at the end of last season to dip your toe and get a feel for it. Your first full season, how are you feeling, and how's the squad shaping up, do you think?
The squad is certainly more in my image now than it was last season. But obviously, with moving from a full squad created by Al to sort of trying to put my stamp on it, there's a few steps needed to take before it's fully what I want it to be. But definitely happy with the improvements, and hopefully just put on an entertaining show. So that's what we're all here to see. So I'm hoping for plenty of goals against a free scoring team.
And you very quickly established yourself as one of the creative content managers, particularly with your song hitting the charts very quickly. Are we expecting much of that throughout the season, or once the game's hit, is it all serious all the time?
Game-wise, it'll be pretty serious, but I'm sure I can throw in a few ditties every now and then, depending on the mood. And
how are you feeling about starting away at Sloths? Are you confident?
Yeah, because I think they can concede goals. It's just whether I can create the chances or not, because I struggled with that towards the end of last season. We were solid enough, didn't concede many, but we were really boring to watch, and I'll be the first to admit that. So hopefully going with a bit more of an attacking formation and fight fire with fire, I think they can be got at. They're just very, very dangerous coming the other way. So hopefully it'll be entertaining.
You mentioned about making the squad your own. When you look at the players you brought in, players like Saviola will probably make the headlines, if you like. But when we were doing the friendlies last night, Ryan was quick to point out the likes of ZZ Roberts and Rayad as players that you specifically wanted. Is that the sort of image you're going to want to take Astor and make them?
Yeah, I mean, from what I can see from the other teams, I think you've got a main dude. It seems to be a hell of a lot of headed goals. Jumping seems to be very, very important, that sort of thing. Heading, strength with that centre forward. ZZ Roberts has got all of that, so I'm hanging my hat on him, really. I've been talking to Scott for a few weeks about it as well, and I basically hung all my hopes on getting ZZ Roberts in because I'm a massive fan of his. I'm hoping he can score us the goals. He's going to be my main man this season. So, yeah, hopefully he does the business.
And obviously, we'll come to overall predictions at the end of the show. But in terms of your team alone, what is it you're looking for in your first full year? Is it top 2? Is it top 6? Is it just an improvement on last year?
No, I'm expecting to be finishing about 8th or 9th, if I'm honest. I'm hoping I can sneak in the top 6, but looking at the squads and the balance and the levels and things that the other guys have managed to create their squads at, I'm realistically thinking about 8th or 9th.
And Ryan, if I can ask you, we've got most of the managers with us, but just a few words on Sloths, if you can, please.
On Sloths, it's very similar to the kind of the old style Devils. It's very much we're going to score more than you. He's going to play 3 up top. Most games he's got probably 4, if not 4. He's going to pick 3 out of 5 top quality strikers. The issue is his midfield going to stand up? Is his defence going to stand up? Stefan Arnshaw, not amazing. He's brought Ricardinho in from Greavesy. Is he going to play him every week? Albertini, I'm not a fan of. It's kind of that gung ho. We're going to score one more new attitude. So, I mean, it's really good to watch. It's kind of the opposite of what we've seen from Greavesy. No offence in the past, you very much defence first. I know it's you seem to think that's a myth, but yeah. I mean, it's always good to watch the Sloths, isn't it? And if he can keep Zé Roberto fit for a full season, who knows? But I imagine he'll be in that 9th to 5th kind of middle of the table, because he comes up against the good defences, he'll struggle.
Okay, no, that's ideal. Thank you, Pat. The next game up on my list is quite a tasty looking affair. If these two resemble what they did last year, Northern Burn hosting Devils. So, Ian, if I can come over to you, and similar to Tato, obviously, how's the squad shaping up, and are you looking forward to going 1 or 2 steps further than you did last year?
I'd love to go 1 step further. I think that top 2 is vital to try to win the whole thing. We had to win one of our last 2 games of the season to win the league last year, and managed to lose both of them. Having said that, I was in a strange position of there being not very much wrong with the team at all. So as opposed to, looking after about 10, 15 games in season and already looking at wholesale changes for the next season, we actually go into this year just fine-tuning things. And we've only brought in sort of 1 or 2 really that are going to figure. Probably 1 or 2 starters, and that's it. Felt we were probably missing a DMC who could play on his own. Gattuso had a really strong second half of the season, but he probably needs to be playing in a 2 at DM. So we went first thing we did was when the window opened went straight for Roy Keane. So I think we're a little bit stronger and we're going to be a little bit sterner than we were last season. And further forward, we're able to bring Robin in. He's a year older. Sigalko, Golden Boot, year older. So feeling quietly confident. Obviously, the first game up is against champions. It's against what a lot of people think is the strongest squad on paper. Bit of an unknown quantity with the new manager in charge of them. But yeah, couldn't really have asked for a bigger game start of the season to get the pulse racing.
And you mentioned obviously bringing in Roy Keane, but you also added Robbie Keane and Totti to your attacking options. Both have had, I think it's fair to say, mixed times in the Super League. Do you think you can use them to their full potential?
Well, I've been around long enough in this league to know it works both ways. I mean, I've had players that I've got nothing out of. They've moved on, and managers have got something out of them. I mean, I've had guys come to me, Sigalko being probably the main one, never done much in the Super League and goes and gets the Golden Boot. So I've got to bring Totti in confident I can get something out of him. I'm probably not going to necessarily... He's not going to go behind the strikers and may expect to perhaps get 20 assists in a season. He's going to play a bit deeper and hope to control the game, as opposed to being too dynamic. So yeah, he was brought in. He wasn't brought in for particularly an advanced role. He was brought in for a very central role. So yeah, him and Roy Keane hopefully bring us centrally a little bit more quality.
Oh, well, obviously, good luck to you, and again, as is quite often echoed by commentators and co-coms, you are one of the stalwarts of the league, and everyone enjoyed seeing you do well. So now that you've had your season of what people perceived as doing well, I'm sure they'll be just as receptive if you go on and actually win it this time.
Oh, yeah, maybe not.
Ryan, again, if I can just bring you in, we briefly touched on it yesterday, but there's a fair bit of pressure on Hodgie, isn't there, taking over the Devils?
He's on a road to nothing, really. If he wins, it's expected. He's taken over the best team in the league. If he loses, then he's in for it, really, because Fifey won it last season. So it's an interesting one. I know Wooder and Duggan, speaking to them pre-seasons, they were quite glad that neither of them had to take over that Devils job, because the only way you can go is down. That being said, though, Hodgie wants that elusive win in the Super League. He wants that title, and he's probably taken over the team with the best chance of doing it. Current champions, probably with the best 14, 15 players combined. So, yeah, he's given himself the best chance. It's whether he can go out and do it now.
And when you look at their business, or his business that he's done, the likes of Montella, Kivu leaving would obviously weaken a lot of teams. But as been alluded to, Devils had a strong squad assembled. You see the likes of Gattuso and Eto'o and Amar coming in. Do you think he's further enhanced what there already was?
I think he's not made them any worse. Has he made them too much better? I'm not too sure. I think Aymar has replaced what was Ronaldinho for you, really, and Montella's left already, hasn't he? So you can see that he's generally going to play one up top. You'd expect, or maybe two up top, but he's definitely going to play Aymar behind. One thing that you didn't have with Devils is probably world-class defensive midfielder. Am I right in thinking he's brought in Soroczynski?
Yep.
So he brought in Soroczynski, who can play there really good. He's also brought in Gattuso. I think he's out for the start of the season, but so he's looked to fix that problem. Whether he's left himself a bit light in other places now, that remains to be seen. I'm not too sure he's got the depth in the defence areas that you had. Devils, they're very strong on paper, but we know that they can be got at, and I'm sure everyone will be doing the best to bring him down a couple of pegs. And they'll definitely be the team that people enjoy beating the most this season.
One thing for certain is they're likely to be better defensively, because that's one thing I was never good at, whereas Hodgie is much better at it. Let's move on to the next team. And Greavesy, I'll come over to you as we look at Locomotive Boston and Fulchester next. You were very generous. You sent me a congratulations message and then very quickly followed it with, "I'm coming for my crown back."
Yeah, exactly. I'm used to success in this league, and I'm not used to finishing sixth. Last season was a blip, and I'm coming back for my crown. People look at my squad and they think, well, it's not so much, but people said that the first season. So I've looked to add some more goals this year. I was happy with what transfers I had arranged, but unfortunately some fell through. And then Montella come available, and it's the first chance I've had at getting a proper recognised goal scorer in this league. I was third top goal scorer last season, and I'm looking to take the next step. People say my defence is too good because I concede the least amount of goals in the league, but I think I add enough goals on top of that as well. So I've brought in some quality in the final third, and I should push on.
I was going to say, you have this reputation, which you believe is unfair, and perhaps some of the stats suggest it is, of being defensive. When you look at some of the signings, Scholes, Zidane, Montella, that's not defensive additions.
No, it's a lot of people think that Zidane's a gamble, but Decor was useless for me. He was a liability. So
if I could come in there and really do challenge that, because Mel Macker for a large proportion of his career, Scholes' career at Fulchester, was unimpressed by Paul Scholes. Scott has largely wanted to get rid of Zidane since he got him. He was really keen to try and get something. And them two players, obviously great players in their time in the real world, but generally players who haven't really been able to hold down a first team position. And then, I mean, you're kind of hanging your hat on them a little bit. Look, is there enough? If those two players don't perform for you, is there enough depth in your squad to challenge? Is that what I mean? That's my concern. You know, look at your squad now. Is that beyond them two starting?
I believe I've got enough depth going forward. I've got a couple of Roma boys, which no one really likes, but they always score past you. It's season 3, so Cassano will be building up into his pomp. De Vecchio, yes, he's coming to the end of it, but he's the nasty bastard that will always do stuff. He gets slagged off, but I think it was 9 goal contributions last season he got for me. So that over a season when he wasn't really a starter is ideal. Well, you say that Scholes and Zidane didn't really hold down a place, but that was also put to me last season when I signed Aymar. And he came in, scored 10 goals in the league and got 6 assists, and I was able to transfer him from Montella. If you'd have said at the start of the season, everyone was going, Aymar's a myth. I just think that a lot of these players that a lot of people have had success on the game with haven't been given a fair crack of the whip in the right place. Zidane, I haven't seen get a run of 5 games in this league.
So you're confident that you can make him into like the giant that we kind of expect of him?
People want average ratings out of these players, but Cams never get average ratings. I'm just looking for goals and assists. They can get 6 every game, but if they give me a goal and an assist, it's the defensive positions that you need average ratings high in. Your defensive positions and your strikers, because your strikers get all the points for scoring the goals, and your CDMs get all the average rating for making all the tackles. You put a lot of people, if you get Zidane taking corners, if he misplaces a corner, that's a misplaced pass. If you get 4 corners and the centre back's hanging away, that's 4 misplaced passes and his average rating's low, just because he's misplaced a corner or a better defender has got ahead of your striker. So those things come into play with who's going to go forward. So you've got to have a little bit of give and take in certain positions with your average rating.
Reevesy, if he's misplacing all them corners, why don't you just take him off them?
Yeah, but if you don't select, that's the bit. Because if he's selected as a corner taker in that game, he's going to get a lower rating. That's why I'm not going to have Zidane as a corner taker. Zidane will not be taking any set pieces.
Conscious of getting dwelling on this, and I would like you get back to 5 in a second. I like going in on some people. what do you see as a successful Oakville this season? And what's a failure?
Failure is 7th place. Success will be going 1 better than what I did in the first season, but anywhere above 3rd, I'll be happy.
Now, I don't want to be seen as jumping in as well, but you've just said failure is 7th or below.
Yeah.
Now, if you look outside the Super League, that is, to me, that is what would be perceived as an old school Arsenal mentality of let's just finish in the top 4. No, teams should be looking, realistically, teams should be looking to win it. Just finishing in the top 6 for, especially someone who's won it, should not be enough.
No, that's why I say it's a failure.
No, but you're saying 6th is good. 6th is okay.
Yeah, but I won't be happy.
Right.
You said what would be a failure and what would you be happy with? I'll be happy with 3rd and above.
Right.
I want a home draw for the playoff, and ideally, I'm still bitter that I missed out on that Champions first place in the first season by 1 point.
I'm bitter I lost out on it by goal difference.
So it's all in that. I can't. Ideally, I want to do better than what I did in the first season, but I'm giving everyone else credit on the transfers that they've made.
Fair enough.
And it's one of those. I bet myself most of the time in a knockout situation. So if I get in that 6th spot, I know I've got a chance.
Okay, fair enough. Maka, let's move on to Fulchester if we can. Now, you're always seen as that dependable one. People will always back you to make the playoffs. Does that add a certain amount of pressure, or is that something you embrace?
That's something I embrace. You know, to the point you were just saying then, every team should be looking to win it. So as a minimum, you should be thinking top 6, right? You want to at least be in the mix. You want your name to be mentioned as I don't want them lads in the playoffs, or I don't fancy playing them. You know, you almost want your reputation to precede you in that instant. So it doesn't bring. I'll be honest with you. I think it brings a lot of pressure saying, "Oh, you should win it. You should finish 1st or 2nd." Because I think we know I won't. In that some weeks I will have a strop, and other weeks I'll do, just not concentrate and make mistakes. I'm liable to that. But when the shit hits the fan or whatever, I do, sort of brush up, sort my tactics out, and win games when I have to. So for me, top 6 is not necessarily nailed on because obviously it's a different kettle of fish this year with different managers, but expectations are absolutely there to finish top 6. Hopefully not with goal difference and favours on the last day though.
And when you look at the business you've done, do you think as has been mentioned, most teams have strengthened, they've improved. Do you think you've done enough to at least maintain the position you got to last season?
Yeah, if anything, I think this is arguably the strongest squad I've probably had. Like last year, I struggled with goals, really. I think Saviola didn't really fire. Michael Owen was hit and miss. Comandini was injured for a long time. I think he was out for about 10 games or something. And Sutton kind of helped drag us over the line into the playoffs. This year, I mean, I didn't want to part with Scholes. I do think I could have got something out of him eventually. But when Greasy offered me Ronaldo, I'm not going to say no to that. And when Tato offered me Nedved for Saviola, basically, that to me was a no-brainer because it alleviates some of the pressure on Veron in midfield to create and provide and gets rid of somebody who wasn't really doing anything for me. So in my view, I've added Shearer and Ronaldo up top, plus Venegora Hesselink in the auction, which are 3 decent acquisitions. So I've now got 6 very competent forwards, two superstars arguably in Ronaldo and Comandini. And then my midfield, central midfield particularly, is a lot stronger. Giggs, Nedved, Veron, Beckham is a hell of a lot better than Giggs, Veron, Donati, Beckham. But Bishkan and Prutton will still do their thing in defensive midfield. I think everybody knows how I'm going to line up or what kind of style I'm going to do. And the lads at the back that go underrated every single year are still there. Yepes, Valgarin, Balde, and now John Curtis. So I've absolutely no worries about the frailties I had up front last year. I mean, as long as I put the right tactics in and make sure the ball gets to those forwards, I can't see why Ronaldo, Comandini, Shearer, Owen won't score 40 between them.
And you mentioned Venegora Hesselink. Obviously, you had great. I'd call it a great success with getting Chris Sutton in the auction last year. Are you expecting a similar sort of return this time around?
Yeah, if he chips in with 5 or 6 goals, that across the course of the season when he's not going to be a starter and he's probably going to be a bit of a impact sub against some of the more shithousery sides or sides that look a bit frail at the back. Yeah, absolutely. But that's that'll be my choice when I use him. So again, I'd be very happy with 5 or 6 goals from him this season.
And starting away to Loco, is that a good place to start your campaign?
So I think it is because all the pressure's on Greasy to win that game. So I think this is one of the first times that I'll go into a season and people aren't going, Mac should win this or this, that, and the other. So if Greasy puts me away 2 or 3-0, well, that's absolutely fine. He's got a bit more pedigree in the league than I have, having won it. His transfer business is arguably a bit better than mine, depending on how you view it. Personally, I don't think it is. I think it's about even. But a lot of people are lauding his business. So there's absolutely zero pressure on me. First couple of games to get going, one of them away up a title contender, title rival. I don't think that's the end of the world. If I was dropping points to some of the more experimental sides or some of the sides that have been weaker on paper, yeah, I'd be worried. But first game away, I see this as a complete free hit.
Cool. No, thanks for that. We move on now to Billy 4, which is Haggis Leddersford. And I'm pleased to say that at about the 4th or 5th time of asking, Wooder did manage to join us. How are you, pal?
Yes, thank you. Yeah. It took a while to get on. It was some phone troubles. I told you, I messaged earlier saying that my laptop absolutely shot to bits this afternoon. I was in the middle of making a nice graphic, so I've been trying to get it on the phone, but yeah. Oh, I'm very good. Yes, are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you.
I've missed the first 15, 20 minutes, so apologies. I will catch up.
It's all right, Woody. Were you just sneaking out the bedroom window so Alf didn't know you'd left?
I'm surprised he's not on. It's not Alf not on.
No, he's not here yet, shall we say. If he finds out we're talking Leddersford, I'm sure he'll come on, because we know that by the end of the season, hashtag Alf's Leddersford will be trending worldwide.
Yeah.
I was asking Duggan earlier, so I was saying to you first off, as someone coming in brand new, this will be your first competitive game on Wednesday. Are you excited, nervous? You know, what's the feeling sort of 2 days to go?
I think, all joking aside about, you know, everyone's having a dig at Haggis and things, if you look on paper, my first 3 fixtures, I've got a real opportunity to build momentum. Coming off the back, I know you say what you want about the pre-season friendlies, but I've had a look at my squad morale here now of the packs that have come out, and it is quite high. So I'm coming off a pre-season friendly, beating Roma in a home save sort of exhibition. But I've come off the back of that, and I've got Haggis, followed by Dudley, followed by Churchtown, who I'm not going to call them the league whipping boys, but they're certainly being predicted to be the lowest 3 ranked teams this year by the majority of people. Maybe not so much Churchtown. I think Dimble's got, for some reason, has got some credibility somehow. From somewhere he's managed. People seem to think he's a credible manager. So, but I've got real chance to get 3 what I think are very winnable games, and to go 9 points and actually be probably top of the league after 3 games, which for a new manager, like going back to your original question, it's quite exciting, really. I know we had a good campaign with Duggan and Hopkins, and the Dragons are quite falling at the last hurdle sort of thing. But it is exciting to have my own team. It is. It's different because we're not having the tug of war between the 3 of us. I've got Alf sitting there being a very special advisor to me. But it is different and it is exciting. But we are quite optimistic going into the first 3 games, certainly, that we can get 3 wins and 9 points, probably sit us top of the league.
And it's interesting the confidence with that, given that 2 of those 3 are away from home as well. Yeah,
but like I said, you've got to look at the opposition, haven't you? Don't think genuinely, Dudley Hill's home form isn't very good, is it?
I can't wait till he played 3 games with 0 points and he handed in his resignation. I cannot wait.
Yeah.
Congratulations on sitting top after 3 games. What you're really flying, mate.
Got to be optimistic, haven't you? No, genuinely, I think with the new. I know I was sort of winding people up on the video call on the videos that I put out and things and whatever else, but it has been quite tough in terms of getting transfer business done. I think there's a reason Hodgie left the squad for Devils. And also there's a reason why he had the transfers lined up that he had. So he had a top striker coming in Van Nistelrooy, and he had a solid DM in Tomati coming in, and he'd lined up some good deals that unfortunately fell by the wayside. So we had to be creative. I know I've taken a lot of flack for the Volodenkov Paredes deal. But you've seen from the sort of setup in the friendly, I'm going to be quite heavy on my DMCs. I'm going to need depth there.
That was going to be one of my questions, actually, Woody. So you land up with 3 DMs. You've got Paredes, Vogel, Lambrosini, Jan Cheddar, Smertin, Pereira, Eric Addo, Lee Young Pure. I mean, John Arisa can play there. Is that going to be?
Half of them have been called from 24-man squad. So Pereira, Risa, who's the other one you mentioned? Guyana Cheddar. They've not made the cut. So we've got Addo is more sort of I've included him because he can slip into the defence as well. So because I've only named 5 defenders, I think. So we've got strength in there. We've brought Smertin in, which I know you mentioned last night. I was very, very keen on bringing him in as a. I think he's top quality. I think he's top draw, and I'm surprised that nobody else really went in for him, unless they did, and I just outbid them or whatever. But yeah,
no, you're the only person that mentioned him at all.
Yeah, read into that one what you will. Then
no one else even asked for a screenshot.
I think if I can come in on that, I done me mate a favour by not going in for Smerton with him, because I knew a DM was a priority. So let's just like cut through the bullshit that nobody else was in for him, would I? Yeah.
It wasn't me who said it, mate. It was Ryan.
This is the perfect time for my question, Wooder, was given the dynamic that the three of you had at Dragons last year, how is it going to be different now you've all got your own clubs? Is it going to be a friendly rivalry, or could it get quite tasty for those watching on social media?
Yeah, I think, listen, there was 2 seasons together, well, 2.5 really, because I think we started talking to Jamie around the time when he was sort of and ahhing about his position in the league. So it was sort of 2.5 seasons together. One where we were really, really bad. We were really, really bad. Chopping and changing, and one where we seemed to be honest, I don't even think we were the best team in the league. We just somehow managed to finish top through consistency and just putting a run of results together. Don't think we were the best team by any stretch. So we've been through the highs and the lows together. So there's always going to be that sort of, I would say, like a lovey-dovey sort of relationship, but it's not like that. But then, there's the highs and the lows. So there's always going to be a little bit of a sparkle in our eyes when we do have that banter between one another. But certainly, they're a pair of pricks, yeah. Certainly both of them are a pair of pricks, yeah.
And Ryan, if I can bring you back in just for a word on Haggis in the absence of their manager.
Yeah, I think he's the person who's. I've got to look now at what the team looks like. The kind of men players haven't changed, have they? So his big players are Vieira, Shevchenko, Mendieta, Stam, Larson. I'm just kind of trying to get down the list, and you're looking about 10 players down. He's got Ashley Cole in, who could potentially going to play. I don't think we're going to see too much different from Haggis this season. He just needs to be tactically different, because he chopped and changed way too much last year and didn't get any kind of consistency or form. And I think everyone on paper knows what quality Ian's got with that squad, but are quite glad to let him carry on being his own worst enemy. So I'm assuming that's what you'll all want again this season, for him to kind of gloriously underperform. If he does,
Ryan, if I could quickly interject, I have a theory that the reason he's on Tinder so much is he's not chatting up birds, he's asking for formations. And all these birds don't have a fucking clue. So he takes them back, bangs them, whatever. And they're throwing out numbers, what they want as payment. And he's like, all right, yeah, am I going to do that back? Yeah. And then he just cracks on. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Just a theory. Just a theory. Yeah. Imagine that. Imagine pulling an escort or buying an escort for 2 hours and then mithering it with Champman. That'd be up there, wouldn't it? Absolutely up there.
Yeah.
I'll probably open to whoever wants to answer it, but they have brought in Nicky Franco. Is this going to be the year he lives up to the hype around his name?
I'll start. And he's the worst Nicky Franco I've ever seen, and Nicky Franco often gets overhyped. But I'll let whoever else come on in this one. But yeah, he looks absolutely gash.
He's probably going to play in a 3 as well. He's probably going to play him in a 3, which is not his strong point, especially even with the crap stats. He's going to be one of a 3. So if he was on his own, he'd have more chance of doing damage. But in a 3, I think, I don't think he'll have impact.
And Nicky Franco is worse than a 0.68 Nicky Franco. That's all you've got to say. You'll get nothing.
He's got one of the deals to go through, which he's letting Rossini go after the first game with Scott's Bostock for Gary Neville. I mean, that means I'm just trying to work out where he's going to play Gary Neville, because he's got Mikey Duff on the right-hand side, who probably does look like a decent version of Mike Duff.
Centre playing right centre back, surely.
Maybe he's got Stan.
I mean, when we were negotiating that deal, he was quite keen to bring him in as a centre half. I think he'll probably start at centre half.
Yeah, he's got Simic has let him down a lot last year, didn't he?
Like Ivan Cordoba, he's got him on. Is he better than Ivan Cordoba at centre back? I don't know. I think with Stan Mendieta, Shevchenko, Vieira, with them four, he's got 4 world-class players. But then I think the gap between those 4 and then the rest of the squad is quite large, which I think is an issue.
His keeper will let him down.
Yeah.
And he'll chop and change.
Casillas, and he big game player. But yeah, I agree with you, Greaves.
Casillas good in a final, shit every other game.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I can't disagree with that. He's got this lad in from outside the league as well, Bruno, who looks like, maybe not this season, but next season could be quite handy. Looks like he's a regen of Bebeto or someone like that. I don't know if that is the case, but looks really good.
Well, thank you for that expert insight there. Much appreciated. Move on to the next set of teams, and both managers are here, and possibly the game that the neutrals are potentially most looking forward to on game week 1. So, Duggan, will come to you. Gazelles v Dragons.
Pair of dirty bastards.
Yeah, mate. What a way to kick off. What a way to start. Really looking forward to it. I think me and Hopkins probably have a good idea of how we each line up, barring any kind of last-minute surprises or anything. Well, yeah, it's going to be a good test. Kind of just to echo what Mac had said, from my side, it feels like a little bit of a free hit. Dragons were league winners last season, and the business that the 3 of us done and the business that Jamie's continued to do has been phenomenal. That Dragons squad now is absolutely worlds away from what it first was. So, if we win, we're laying down a marker against the league winners. If Hopkins comes and gets a result, then fair enough. He's playing against the manager who's only had 5 transfers to make the squad his own, really. So yeah, we'll try and play on the front foot. We'll try and get the result and get the 3 points. But Hopkins will come and give us that shot.
I'm just having a quick look at your transfer business that you've done. Now, the one thing that stands out is there's a lot of, is it fair to say, defensive-minded players in that. If I'm just looking at the most recent list, you've got the likes of Ian Hartley, Daisy, Gerard Zayaleas. Is that because you felt Gazelles lacked defensive options, or because you're perhaps more defensively minded? Because again, as was alluded to earlier, a lot of the success that Dragons had last year was built defensively.
I would absolutely flip that on its head, and it'd be interesting to see what people's kind of thoughts are when I kind of explain that. So on the face of it, you might think, yeah, defensively minded players, he's going to play defensive. But if you look at who they've been brought in exchange of, they're actually more attacking options than what went out. So if Annie did see, he's going to score goals. He's going to be strong at the back and he's going to score goals. Gerard, is a more attacking midfielder than Roy Keane, who went for him. Jens Jeremies went for Udetzi. Ian Hart was a free hit. The Ian Hart deal was, cash. And the reason for that is because, Derry is so good and quality DMLs are so hard to come by in this league. You've probably got Roberto Bauma and, the likes of Julio Walker. Beyond that, you've got this second tier of DMLs that aren't very much good. And I think in that second tier, Ian Hart's up there with genuine good quality left side defenders or DMLs. The deal that's a gamble is Kluivert for Zelius. But what that Gazelle squad were lacking badly was a quality defensive midfielder who had legs and who could contribute a little bit higher up the pitch as well, which we know Zelius can. We know he can play key passes. You might come back to us and say, well, you got rid of Roy Keane, but if you don't get rid of Roy Keane, you don't get Gerard in, and so on and so on. So, got to be realistic that the likes of me and Wooder and Hodgie, although to a lesser extent, because he's got by far and away a much better squad. We've had 5, 6, 7 transfers when everybody else in the league has had 24, 25, 26 transfers. And I know I've said this before, but the majority of everybody's transfer business was done long before we were in post. You've got the likes of Greavesy tapping people up for next transfer window in 26 games time. So you really are limited in the options that you have in terms of lining up transfers. So it's like a game of chess. You get one in, you've got to get one out. And I think there's only ever really 10 big deals every window in this league. Everybody wants to keep the spine of the team. Everybody wants to keep those big players. So beyond those 10 big deals, managers are making trade-offs. I might lose a top quality striker like Clivert, but I get a top quality DMC like Zelius in return. So it is swings and roundabouts. But I'm happy with the business I've done. It's a young side. I'm encouraged by how stable this version of the save is, from what Ryan said, and also how it's been going. So it's a little bit of a money ball tactic. They're all young players. Other than Cafu, everybody in the squad is under the age of 28. They're going to last, they're going to get better, and they're going to have a premium further down the line, the likes of Van der Vaart, those sorts of players as well. So yeah, happy with my business. And we're going to go and play on the front foot and try and get the job done against Hopkins on Wednesday.
Can I just come in on that, just talk about the transfer? And I think a lot of people, season 1, the kind of Jeremy's deal definitely stand out to me as a bit of a raised eyebrows. I didn't think that was potentially you getting good value there. I could potentially say that with Clive for Elias as well. One bit of business you have done, which you've not mentioned there, and I was amazed that Macca pulled out of this deal, was the deal to bring in Diego Forlan. I'm looking at his stats, but he looks like an absolutely quality version of Diego Forlan, as we know, who's a player who gets better throughout the serve. I'd say that, he's probably alongside Raul as your main man up top, and I think he could do some damage for you this season.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I have to kind of give a shout out to Macca for kind of backing out that deal. We know, obviously, everybody knows I had Trezeguet lined up from Scott, and that kind of fell through because of the rules and stuff, which is absolutely fair enough. Took that on the chin. I've got no issue with saying that. I dropped Macca a message and just said, look, the Trezeguet deals went tits up. I'd already, I'd agreed and shook on the Zelius for Clivert deal on the basis that I could get Trezeguet in. I didn't want to drop Jamie in it and then back out of that because of mine and Scott's kind of oversight, because I wanted to stay true to that deal going through. And Macca was kind enough to say, look, as he said, I've got 6 top quality strikers. I really don't need them. I think Diego Forlan's going to be a big player for me this season. He also frees Raul to go and play AMC, where he can do some real damage with his kind of ability to assist and dribble and be creative. I'm really confident that Forlan's going to be the next big thing in the league.
And if I can just flip one of the points you made earlier around, you mentioned obviously how many transfers a lot of the other managers had, and you mentioned, for example, Hodgie's going into a different club, but they've already got a stacked squad, if you like. Gazelles have been every single season tipped as this should be the year they win it. Did you look at that squad and think they needed a lot doing to it? Did you need to max out your transfers, or did you see what everyone else sees and there was a quality squad there already to use?
Absolutely, I've got no issues with saying that when the potential of kind of a solo vacancy came up, that Gazelles was top of my list. I think it's absolutely a top 6 squad. Arguably, I think the first 11 should be pushing top 4, top 5. But again, it's that thing of, Craig it had 2 and a bit windows to kind of mould the squad his image. And I always think with kind of managers who maybe are moving on, that, in terms of some of the deals you line up, your heart isn't exactly with it. So it's difficult really when you inherit any squad. But I'm really happy with it. I think if we've got a really tough start, we play Dragons, Devils, Fulchester and Loco in the first 4 games, which I think is a really, really rough ride. But it's a great opportunity to lay down a marker, show what you're about, try and play attacking football on the front foot, and really, really get going well. Similarly, it could go absolutely tits up, and we could be looking at north from 12th. But whatever happens, we'll keep doing what we're doing. We've got a philosophy that we want to play by and a style we want to play by. and we'll commit to that. It might take 2 years like Dragons, but we'll get there.
Jamie, let's move over to Dragons, and forgive me if this sounds harsher than it's meant to, but you had a track record roughly as good as mine. Of me and you were consistently the bottom two. You finally had a season of success. Could it be suggested that it's attributed to the two people you worked with, and now people are perhaps thinking now it's you on your own again, you're going to slide back down the table?
Yeah, well, the success was definitely, the other two were a factor. I can't sit here and say, anything other than that. In terms of us slipping down the table, I think it is likely, as Wood had alluded to, I certainly don't think we were the best team last year. I'm not quite sure, how we won it. It was set up on being, kind of defensive, because we didn't have the forward players to go out. As again, I know he done all right for us, but when Constantino is your main striker and he's your best striker, it kind of tells you all you need to know, about your attacking options. I can't argue. I think he scored 9 goals for us and did a decent job. But when he is your main man, your setup is going to be defensively to try and not concede and win 1-0, let's just say, until the final. We never conceded more than 2. So that was the game plan. I don't think it was going to be possible to do that again this season, scraping all those games. So obviously bringing in strikers was massive for us. And to be fair, we've lost Zé Elias, who was a big player, but everyone else who's kind of gone out hasn't really done anything for us. Obviously, we had Chairmen as a cash buy, Figo as a cash buy, and Tom Madeira coming in for De Alessandro, done absolutely nothing for us in the 2 seasons. So I think if you look at our attacking options now, we've brought in, Kluivert, Tom Madeira and Chairmen, and realistically, we've only lost Zé Elias from anyone who was a squad player, because De Alessandro didn't even get on the bench half the time. Kaka's gone for Chiotis, who is going to be pushing Khan, who's obviously aging now. So I think we're definitely, if you look at our starting 11 with kind of Kluivert and Tom Madeira up front, Chairmen on the bench, I think we're definitely a lot stronger this year, because again, I think we were far from the best and the strongest team last year, even though we won the league.
Well, you've literally picked up on my next question. Obviously, there was a bit of back and forth, particularly between myself and you guys, about what I was calling the rhetoric about how the only reason you guys weren't seen as a big team was because of your lack of striker. Now that you've got the attacking options you've mentioned, surely there's no excuses.
No, I agree. We're a lot stronger this year. I personally feel in our starting 11, obviously Zealous, no one can argue, probably our most consistent player over the 2 seasons. But for me, Kluivert was a massive striker, someone I'm really, keen on. So it was a kind of a no-brainer for us, especially when we have got Saeed and Davids in the midfield. But I think one thing which we were extremely lucky about last year was injuries. We did lose a few at the end. We lost Lucio and Taribo West. But throughout the season, Archie back, Joe Cole, Bauma, Zauri, Constantino away. But these players nearly went the whole season. I think David's had the odd booking. But we were very lucky on the injury front. We were able to pick a consistent team nearly all the way through the season, bar maybe 1 or 2 tweaks. So we're extremely lucky there. We never really had to change formation because we never lost, the players to do it. So we did get a bit lucky in that respect as well. So that's something which hopefully, I'll get lucky again with this year.
And kind of the flip side to what I asked Wooder earlier, for me personally, when I was getting the opportunity to talk to you last season, you seemed to have that buzz back of sort of the first couple of seasons when you were at Football Monologue. Going solo again, is this season going to feel different? Are you going in with a different mentality, or have you got that old feeling back again?
Oh yeah, you definitely, being on your own again, it definitely brings a bit more excitement because, again, you're responsible for it. And I think that's where Wooder and Duggan not will struggle, but that's what's going to come into it, is when they start to have those bad results. I know, Wooder's got out there with him, but you can lose the plot kind of thing and try to make wholesale changes or do this and that. But you always had, the other two then to kind of say, right, rein it in a bit now. We've only lost 1 game. Let's, kind of cool it down, and let's have a chat tomorrow. When you're on your own, you make decisions, everything falls with you. And I think that's going to be the interesting thing with Wood, that is how many times his head fall off, because he's already got 9 points. So to say, I can't wait till 3 games in, he hasn't won any, and he's handing his resignation. I'm honestly so excited for that to happen. I cannot wait.
And we're going to come on to predictions once we finish the sort of club by club preview.
Can I ask just Jamie about Gabriel Batistuta? I know it was definitely you and Duggan didn't really fancy him last season. I think he had 4 starts in the entire season, 1 goal. Obviously went for big money to Slavs. How concerned are you that he might come back to Hartney this year?
Not very concerned. It was Wood that was pushing for this. It's quite funny. Obviously, we went last season, and kind of every time we were picking the team, Wood wanted in Michael Carrick, or he wanted in Janino, he wanted all these players. And then when he's gone to Leddersford, it basically said, you can have them all. I don't want them. They're shit. So I'm kind of like, he was trying to sabotage us last year, because he kick off every week because Michael Carrick weren't playing. And I said, just take him this season. He's obviously wanted to play 3 DMs. I was like, no, I don't want him. He's shit. So I'm not quite sure what's going to happen with Wood. It is either going to be worse of the Dragons' first season, or he's just going to win every game.
Oh, well, I did come back and take your top scorer off you, though, didn't I?
Yeah, you did, to be honest. But yeah.
Yeah. I left you with Carrick. You can have him. Yeah.
And just to conclude then, Jamie, I'll say we'll come to predictions at the end, but are you confident in yourself that with the transfer business you've done, you can go one step further this year and get all the way to the final again and win it?
Yeah, now we've got those strikers in, I do think we're more, the team is set up now to go forward with the options that we've got. So, I'm definitely confident. And going back to what you said earlier, obviously with the other 2, and, I want them both to do well, but I really hope Wood just as a nightmare, because to see him fall on his arse, there's just going to be, for social media content and WhatsApp and everything else, there is going to be nothing I would enjoy more than just seeing Wood's head fall off every Wednesday and Sunday.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. We come to the penultimate fixture, and 2 men who have been waiting very patiently. Steve, we'll come to you first, as it's Dudley Hill and Bostock Stanley. Needless to say, I mean, you were quite publicly frustrated last season with how Dudley performed, and even in, let's say, WhatsApp groups, etc., you were possibly even more vocal about how frustrated you are. Are you confident it's going to be better this year? No.
Personally, yeah, I can't see how it can be any worse. But no, genuinely, I think I'm, as much as it might not seem it to certain people, and certain people on this chat with a big headset on and a white Adidas t-shirt on, I feel I'm a lot stronger in terms of solidarity from top to bottom. But yeah, look, it is what it is. On the face of it, I had a slightly better season last year than season 1 when I finished 12th. So I think that's testament to the league itself and how strong it is. I lost less games last season and still finished slower. So again, like I say, it goes back to how strong everybody else is. But yeah, do you know what? We had a strong start to the season. We were second after 6 games. We had a strong finish at the season, lost 1 in 6, 7. And
sorry, Steve, if I can just jump in there just for 1 second. Is Wooder still here, or is he gone? Oh, no. No, he's still there. Wooder, just a little thing for you. You were celebrating already being top after 3 games. Steve's just said he was second after 6, and look what happened to him.
Yeah. Well,
look at that fat neck. Anyway. But no, the problem is home form has been absolutely terrible last 2 seasons, and we've never beaten Mr. Scott. He said another pasting. We've had 2 pastings and 2 really tight losses, but losses are losses. And let's hope it changes a bit this season. I think looking at us aside for Wednesday, we're missing two of the people we brought in from outside the league, one through injury, one through international duty, I think it is. But, you know, I think it's strong enough to do a job, knowing what I think Scott will probably play, knowing on his business. But I know Scott's team's in, so I'm prepared to say after the narrow formation, apart from last game against Churchtown when it was a bit of a, you know, it's a nothing. I know it were all, we're finishing bottom, blah, blah, but we just had a bit of it to know. But so you take the last 6 games before that, the narrow, we lost 1 in 6. So we've gone with that. And I think it'll stand us in good stead considering we were playing Finland and Serginho. I think it was, the left and right. And we've now got Tomasi and Zanoni playing in them DM positions, which is massively stronger.
If I can just touch briefly on your transfer business, which some have argued isn't as inspiring as perhaps it could have been. I'm just looking at some of the names you brought in. You've now got about 27 goalkeepers, which you've had to whittle down. Mark Van Bommel, for me, is probably the best signing you've made. I know you're quite excited, as you've alluded to, with Mendonca. And then we mentioned earlier with the likes of Zidane and Totti, players who have perhaps had mixed times. You've brought in Seedorf. Is he going to be critical to anything you achieve this year?
I think critical's probably going a bit far, but he can't do any worse than Lee Bowyer or any worse than Van der Vaart did. He hadn't averaged above 7 at Van der Vaart. Last season, he played 14 games, if I remember rightly. Everybody's saying, oh, Van der Vaart just needs to play. Stats are brilliant. Van der Vaart needs to play. He played 14 games and did no. So we're bringing a player who's ability-wise can do it. And in testing, playing against himself, he's done really well in the position he's playing in Wednesday. So who knows? Who knows? I think he will finish. I'm putting my neck on line here with no bets involved with Duggan again because I'm not having this. I think he'll finish with a better rating at the end of the season than Van der Vaart will. I don't think there'll be much in it. I won't add. But yeah, I think we're stronger. I think Luca Toni has. I think his goal-to-game ratio really well. If you put that over 26 games, I think he could have been there or thereabouts, or maybe top scorer if that had been through a season. Mark Viduka, like I said earlier, he's probably averaging just over 1 in 2, but he's still unhappy with the manager, as is Olasadibe. Oh, he's unhappy with the manager, but he's done nothing as well. But I think them 3 potentially going to be our best 3 strikers this season. So,
can I ask you a question on that, Steve? How the fact that you've got, I think, 3 or 4 players who've lost confidence in your ability to manage, as well as maybe 13 other managers lost confidence in your ability to manage. How do you think that's going to impact? Is individual player morale for these players, is it low? Are you worried that the board might step in if it doesn't start well?
No, I'm not. I had this conversation earlier. We've had this conversation in our WhatsApp about my form at end of the season as to whether I got sacked. But I think the fact that
you didn't get sacked.
No, I know I didn't because I've still got 4. I think it's only 4 now. Sereni's calmed himself down, so I don't know what's going on there. But no, I don't think it plays a part. I mean, Viduka got an 8, scored last night. I think there's certain things that don't play a part. But yeah, it's not ideal. But the morale's not great, but it's not the worst I've seen.
Do you not think that you're hanging your hat on Mendonca and he's a bit shit?
It might well be. To end of the day, I am genuinely going on everything I've had on saves with him. I really am, but he's still young. You know, his stats are not great, but they're not bad. he's got potential to have a lot of assists in him. And the formation I played with him in central midfield with a long arrow, a lot of assists, a lot of goals. I do think he'll be a little bit of a surprise package. Everybody's going for people that they know outside league. And I think there's some questionable deals from outside league personally himself. And where Mendonca's getting challenged, I fully expected that. I do think he'll prove a few people wrong, and I think he'll do all right.
Tell us some of the questionable deals, Steve.
Pardon?
Tell us some of the questionable deals from outside of the league.
Mendonca.
Just to go look at the two Dragons, because I think one of them's got Pedrino. He's terrible. One of them, Richie Wellens, is absolutely nowhere near Super League level.
I make signings just to appease Alf, though. He was an Alf special. It's just to keep Alf out my DMs. Just I've signed him.
You signed Pedrino for Alf. I'm not buying it. Alf's.
I'll show you. I've got text messages. Listen to me. I promise you, I did.
He's terrible.
Steve, I've just got two quick fire questions for you, just to round up before we move over to Scott, if I can. Firstly, is there any friendly bets going on with Duggan that you're going to find extreme reasons to pull out of this year?
Not with Duggan, no. And that bet did get paid up in full. But there is one going on with Wooder that'll finish above Wooder. And I think after his big call, he'll be top after three games. He's getting absolutely bummed all in 3 games. I think pretty now seen bag. Yeah. But apart from that, not with Duggan, because he's a betting connoisseur, is that man.
50 quid it is, you know.
No, last one more with Duggan.
Yeah, but you didn't cough up those three.
Well, listen, let's not go there. Yes, Piper, what's your next question, mate?
Second question is, if you get a bad performance and bad result on the opening day against Scott's Bostock team, is that going to ruin your Italian adventure that you're on at the minute?
Italian adventure?
Yeah, the stream you were doing outside of the Super League.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Some other people that streamed with Scott have ended up falling out and ended up caught. Yeah, it is what it is. I've not beat Scott. I've got no. It's a free hit for me. I've never beat Scott. I've never drawn with Scott.
It's not
any result whatsoever. And then we were talking about Gary Neville earlier, and that shithouse got a 90th minute goal against me in one of the games. But no, it's what it is.
Are we falling out, Scott? Me and you falling out, Scott? I didn't know we had. Thanks, mate. Yeah.
What I'm saying is, no. End of the Super League, and everybody's superb in the league. I won't fall out with nobody losing to him, apart from a certain person who's trying to grow his afro bigger than Leo Sayer again.
But how funny is it blocking Greasy when he shithouses you?
Well, why would I shithouse him? He's ground last season.
No, I mean, no. If he beats you and he does it in a very shithouse manner, the amount of pleasure you get from just going Locomotive Boston, Baltimore, whatever, shithouse, button, block, done. Just 3 days of just woosah.
I've had 2 seasons of being shit, so all better than being shit is just acceptable. So.
Mackie, you've never beat Locomotive Boston, have you?
No, I think I've drew with him quite a lot. Like nearly every game's been a draw by 1 or something.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I can't remember. Or I might have lost 2 and drawn 2, something like that.
I think you've won 2. Sorry. Locomotive on there, it says they've won 2 and drawn 3. However, I think one of them is that preliminary final where you got beat on penalties. So I think that classes as a loss for you, but a draw for him. I don't know why.
So you've been waiting very patiently to have your say. As you've been very open about, as many of us have spoken about, you've taken a lot of responsibility for what happened last year. Is it a case of just fully focused this year and going out to prove a point?
Yeah, absolutely. I take full responsibility for how last season panned out. I think last season for me should have been sort of where we were targeting top 2, top 4. The first season I missed out on the playoffs last game of the season. Second season in the playoffs comfortably in 4th with a couple of games to spare. From them we should have kicked on, but we didn't. Last season's done, it's forgot, it's parked. Now we move on.
And do you see the business you've done as being enough to escalate your side? You're always quite fancied. When people speak about you, you're considered quite an astute manager. You know what you're doing. You know your way around the league. When you look at the business you've done, I mean, there's certainly some big names. You look at Decor, Tristan Bowyer and Dye. Do you feel you've elevated that squad enough now to be firmly a top 6 club?
Yeah, for sure. If you go back, scrap last season, go back to the season before, we finished 4th. And I think the squad's stronger than it was then. We've strengthened the spine of the team. So as you mentioned, we've got Decor and Dye, Bowyer, Rossini coming in as well.
All those starts, Scott, will they be off, in your view, as long as they're not absolutely abysmal for you, have they been brought in to start every game?
Those 4 players will start most games, yeah. Depending on how we line up, if we're going to play 2 central DMCs, then Decor and Ndai will likely be first choice. If we only play 1, it'll probably be Ndai. Whether we push Decor a little bit further forward or not is we'll see on it. That'll depend on who we're playing and the circumstances or whatever. Rossini, Anelka, Tristan, along with Collins, we'll play a lot of games. So yeah, Bowyer again. You talk about sort of top world class centre midfielders on the game. I think if you look at sort of Barry Ferguson, Emerson, there's probably not many more you'd pick above Bowyer. Not for me personally anyway. So I'm really pleased with that one, especially and I know that Steve swapped him for Tudor, and it was a 2-for-1 that Steve scrapped because he wanted to free up a place, but Tudor might not even start for Steve. So for Steve to lose Bowyer for Tudor for me was baffling. But
starting every game. It's starting every game.
Oh well, fair enough. So yeah, I'm delighted with the business. Pleased with where the squad's at. We're stronger than last year. So yeah.
You're going to stick with Andre. Is he going to be number 1?
Andre will be number 1, but we've got Elefropoulos who will be a number 1.2, if you like, whatever. Absolutely no concerns about throwing him in at all. 2 good keepers.
And I've spoken to the new managers about how excited they are for their first games. Again, you've been around a while. Seeing the likes of Tato, who's in his first 4 years, seeing the likes of Duggan, who's been around a while, but he's now taking charge of a club. Does it give you, as someone who's been around, that sort of breath of fresh air, seeing these new people coming in and their excitement and what they're going to offer the league?
Yeah, I think that's one of the best things about the league. You want to pit yourselves against, the best teams, the best managers, the best players within the community, the guys that have earned the right to be in the league. So I've got experience against the guys that have been and gone. You think about yourself and Ryan and Andreas and Kieran, all the guys that have been and gone before in the last 4 seasons that I've been here. And it just brings a new challenge. With the new challenge comes new ideas, comes new players, new formations, new content. So yeah, it just sort of keeps the league alive and ticking over. And yeah, it's really exciting.
And again, we'll be coming to predictions shortly, but is it a case for you that, anything not top 6 is an absolute failure?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Anything not top 6 will be a failure.
And I know when we've spoken in previous seasons, you're one who's very self-confident, that kind of thing, that you're always, for example, in the Super League, you're saying you're confident you can get top 2. Is that still something you believe in as we go into the opening day?
As we sit here now, I'm confident that I'll finish in the top 6. Top 2 is what we're striving for. I think when we come on to predictions in a little bit, we'll go into a bit more detail. I think there's a couple of squads that are stronger than me, with good experienced managers that might nick the top 2 spots. But if we can be consistent, then we have a chance.
No, excellent. It looks like Ryan's muted himself, so I don't know if he's still there and can hear me. You can jump back on quickly. But if not, the last two teams, just to look at, are Churchtown and Halls. I don't know if any one of you in particular wants to talk about either. Oh, Ryan is back as well, so he can offer. Let's start with Halls, if I can. They're the away side for the opening game. Their squad was very much considered a top 6 squad last year, and I think Jens would agree they had an awful season by what they should have done. Ryan, I'm just saying that the last two teams, Churchtown and Halls, neither their manager here. I didn't know whether you wanted to sort of cast your expert eye over what we might expect from both of those.
I've spoke a lot, mate. Like Mr. Edwards knows a lot about these two teams, and let Mr. Edwards talk about one of them, and yeah, someone else who wants to volunteer.
Thanks, mate. The one thing I'd say about Hools, and I think, you know, Jens is a lovely fella. He does know what he's doing. They've got a great squad. I think he's a little guilty of doing what a lot of us have done in the past, and not reacting well to a defeat. And the last thing you want to do when you get beat is go and pick a team for your next game in anger. And I think Jamie mentioned it earlier. One thing that worked well with the 3 dicks was there was always one of them to talk another one down and calm down and take a step back and you know, leave it till tomorrow or calm down before you make wholesale changes, because doing it week after week, you're fighting a losing battle. And I think a good start is vital for Hools, because if they get off to maybe 2 or 3 defeats in the first 4 games, something like that, the kind of character that Jens seems to be, he may just struggle to find that consistency. Because the team's there, he's done good business as far as I can see. If he can get the ball to them strikers, I mean, there's goals in that team. And Dai is the big loss, but he was making the rest of the team look bad, so maybe not such a bad thing to get rid. But yeah, big season for them.
Macca, if I can bring you in, Ian mentioned there that Hall's definitely got goals in them. I know he's posted what the final squad or the first squad is. I've not had a chance to fully see it yet, but I imagine they all made it. When you see Crespo, Van Nistelrooy, Brozek, Palermo, possibly even Louis Zhao, is that as good a striking option combined that any team has?
On paper, yes, but you can't play all of them. And the other thing for me with Hools now is the service those strikers will get. And then secondly, I feel if I remember his business right, he's significantly weakened his DMC position. I'm not sure he's going to be... I mean, he didn't concede a ton of goals last year, if memory serves, or last season. But he didn't score a lot either. Now I think he's gone completely the opposite end of the spectrum. Like, he's really top-loaded his forward line to the absolute detriment of his starting 11 in his central midfield and DMC position. I don't know if he's got the creativity and defensive steel to keep clean sheets and still put 2 or 3 past opponents.
So, I mean, just to kind of go on with what Matt said there, he sold Ndai, Van Bommel, Zenoni and Paredes, who you would class as the best positions, being defensive midfielder. Maybe Van Bommel can play centre midfield. He's brought in Milevsky, who can play there, and Xavi, who can play there. Maybe, yeah, they're the only 2 really.
Milevsky's probably the man playing as a solo DMC, so there's a lot of pressure on him there. And who's he got in terms of midfielders? I think he was playing Rivaldo and somebody else. But again, there's not a ton of creativity there, is there, if memory serves?
He's got Rivaldo and Liverani, I think, will be his starters. He's also got Dalmatin from you. The one player I'm conscious about these outside of the league transfers, and I think one of the best players that's been brought in is Barcelona's Xavi. I think he starts at quality. I mean, I don't mean that like. I mean, I know that the match ratings are always inflated when you haven't got the league loaded, but I'm talking about his stats. He looks like he's going to be a real handful, and he could be a decent centre midfielder.
And if we can briefly touch on Churchtown, obviously Duggan, Wooder, Steve, you all talk to Dimble daily. Duggan, I'll start with you. He's quite excited now to have the team to himself, isn't he, and make it his own.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think his business has been good. A bit like the job that Tato had on his hands, where he inherited the squad that was probably the victim of one or two questionable transfer deals, heavy-sided one way, and I think he's done good business. And certainly the reason I rate Dimble, the reason I think he's got pedigree, just to kind of come back to the point what I made earlier on, is he consistently does it on network saves, really. We can all sit and say about this player has done this on a home save, or has done that on a home save. But me and Wood have been playing network saves for the best part of 15, 16 years, and it's the ultimate kind of challenge, really, when you're playing against another human manager. And Dimble kind of consistently proves himself in that sort of situation.
On the counter side to that, though, Duggan, when he first took over Churchtown, he had the reins. He played 3 up top, and he had his 2 strikers either side of the central striker pointing out to the corner flag.
He was.
Yeah. I think there was definitely. I think one of the things was Dimble kind of got the gig as co-manager. He was coming in a game and then stepping back 4 or 5 games or 3 games or whatever. So I don't think he had full hands on the reins, really. And I think kind of Kieran, who I know is he's done loads for the league and he's really well thought of, and he seems like a top lad. But he was honest enough to say it was time to move on. And I think it struck me that was very much like Dragons, when we were just changing every week and just trying all sorts of crazy stuff because you were desperate to get a result. I think you'll do well. I don't know if the squad, I don't think the squad has got enough quality towards the top end of the pitch to really, really challenge for top 6. But it'd be difficult. He'd beat Dragons 1-0 in the run-in at the back end, last 4 or 5 games. He beat Devils, I think, 2-1 or 1-0 in the run-in, last 4 or 5 games. So he's no mug, and he'll be awkward. He'll be really awkward to play because he does know the engine and he does know the tactics.
He's kind of great. I really like his defensive line. I don't know if he's going to play William Vialli, but I think he's probably absolute top quality. He's got John Terry, Zanetti, Roberto Carlos. So you're going with the 2 and the 2 wing backs. You're not getting much better than that. But I mean, just to echo what Duggan said there, it's a lot on the shoulders as a main striker for a young rookie, Santa Cruz. He's got Giovanni Elba. Beyond that, you're looking at players like Gibril Cisse, Nuno Gomez, who have consistently not done it. Interesting to see, actually, I don't know if he's going to play him up top or in a kind of supporting role, but he's got Del Piero in from Northern Bern, who had an absolutely great season last time out. And whether he could replicate that, I think that would be key. And
who did you swap him for, Ian?
Totti. I think if you look at the reason I got rid, I felt I was cashing in a little bit because Del Piero's first half of the season was phenomenal. The second half of the season was flat 7, possibly even under. And he got a lot of goals, but a lot of those goals were in 3 or 4 isolated games. And although I picked him every week, I had a couple of guys in there who were in because they were part of a winning team rather than they were playing great. And so it seemed for me a no-brainer. I couldn't not keep putting Robin in the team and eventually him not get pissed off. So Robin had to play this season, which meant Del Piero wasn't probably going to feature. Yeah. And I was able to get someone decent for him.
I think one of the things in terms of Churchtown, one of the things that would be tricky if I was, let's say I was new manager coming into Churchtown, is you haven't really got anything to take to market to bargain with. So I know I've sort of laughed and joked saying I was offered a load of shite for all my best players, but Churchtown haven't really got, apart from, like you say, Tossie, that's why I was asking, they haven't really got anybody who I sort of and ahed over with a Mendes de Silva Patrick Powell, is that how you're going to say it? And a couple of others that I half-arsed like the look of, Cambiasso. But apart from that, you're not going to attract with the personnel he had. He'd had to get creative in the transfer market, and I don't know whether he has.
He's kept to us. I think the one that you could say that is Zanetti. He's his marquee man. And then beyond that, you're looking at top players, but not world-class players. I think anyone else, I mean, you're not looking at... Zanetti's probably one of the top 3 in his position in the game. But beyond that, I don't think he's got anyone else. Roberto Carlos, who just brought in from Dudley Hill, he's potentially in that bracket. One player who's got potential, we all know he's got potential, is Riquelme, at midfield. Now, he's been a disaster so far in last save. His stats still look amazing though. So if he can get a tune out of Riquelme, then that changes things. But yeah, I tend to agree with Wood. He's not got a lot of players which would kind of fetch a big fee. I'm surprised he's got a couple of players who are having personal problems, including one of whom, Okoronkwo, and I thought he might have gone to market with him, especially considering Vialli and John Terry. But he's not done that, which I think maybe might have a
Ryan, has he done out of league signings yet, or are they still in motion?
Let me have a quick look. Well, he's gone for this defender, Mascaro. I think a few people have. He
looks class, him.
Yeah, I know. A couple of people are looking at him. He's the only one. He's had a bid for someone else rejected, but he's the only one still in progress. You had a look at Christian. Actually, I won't say his name because I don't think that's fair. But yeah, he's had a bid rejected for someone else. He's got money for these players, but I think he's just not wanting to waste money. But yeah, Mascaro is in.
Spent all that money. He's spunked all his money on Panucci, didn't he?
It'd be interesting to see how much Panucci played. Really, we didn't really talk about this. But I mean, it's players lacking in key positions. That's lost. So I didn't really notice this, but I think you've seen their squad, and I think he's sold Salihamidzic, hasn't he? And I think he on auction day he was like, actually shit. I've got absolutely no one at right wing back. So he got Danny Mills, and Danny Mills got unhappy absolutely immediately. And then he's gone for this Christian Poulsen, who to me looks fucking garbage. But, I mean, that's his 2 choices at right wing back now. He had no depth there and sold his decent player there. So that could be an issue for some clubs.
Just on Zanetti, at the start of this sort of transfer window, end of last season, before I'd even discussed any deals, Zanetti was my number 1 target going into this summer, and I was told at least 2 times categorically he will not leave, not for any price. I would have probably parked for sort of pick 2 players and tell me which 2 you want, and I'd have took Zanetti. But he was very clear that he was building his team sort of around Zanetti and trying to strengthen around him rather than lose his best player.
Which I understand that. I remember that was remember the old Dragons team with Jamie. He basically had his market man was Damiano Tomasi, and he was like he was struggling during the rest of the pitch, and he said that every time he went to market with someone, everyone asked about Tomasi, and it's like actually I don't want to get rid of my last player. I want to try and build a team, and so I understand that frustration and understand that. And I think we're bringing Carlos in, we're bringing Riquelme in. Then with 2 players who've been slightly underperformed, especially Riquelme, but 2 players who have got a lot of potential. I'm surprised I'm surprised by the Carlos deal. I think he was. You mean you're by a mile your best choice left wing back, Steve.
Tell me about it.
That's a favour to a friend right there.
Yeah,
right there.
Absolutely. Who that other transfer you just mentioned there, Ryan? Riquelme. Who did he swap?
There's definitely more than fucking virtual cash involved in that deal. There must be sexual favours or something, man. That's fucking ridiculous, Steve.
Nearly as bad as Kaka for Chiapas.
Yeah, so the deal was Stilian Petrov and Juan Roman Riquelme came in from Haggis. And who went to Haggis? Ashley Cole, who didn't really feature, and Roman Vasiliuk.
Okay.
Who, if I remember right,
hang on a minute. Let's talk about this Carlos deal, right? Carlos played 2 games last season, with Serginho averaged just under 8 all season.
Yeah, and you finished second bottom.
Regardless, I'm looking at players that played all right. I know you've got a big thing for having big bants and fucking going at me, right? I fucking love it. But what I'm saying is, right, when somebody's averaged 7.38 or whatever he averaged first season, and Serginho's come in and played really well, and Steve Finnan can now play there this season if needed. After 2 games, I'll say surplus to requirements.
Roberto Carlos is surplus to requirements.
Let's just do a little round robin and ask all the other managers on this call whether you're having Carlos or Serginho, and I bet you there's only one answer.
Yeah, but Serginho won't be playing there this season.
Duggan, just to throw a side note into that, just to quantify what Steve just said there, he's happy to offload Roberto Carlos because he's got Steve Finnan.
who averaged better last season than Carlos did season 1.
Who averaged better than Dudley all season? 12 other clubs.
It's not like this is just what I don't get. Carlos didn't get a chance last season. You're not giving a chance to him in 4 games. No chance. You played Serginho. Carlos came in when Serginho was injured. Season 1, he averaged 7.4, got 8 assists, 3 man, a couple of goals. It's not like he had a bad season. I just don't understand why he ever got dropped from your team.
Right.
My theory, right, is because we picked Edgar Davids up. What was we swapped Davids for? Bowyer, was it?
No, Bowyer and
Serginho.
My theory is if you're going to do transfers with Steve, wait till about 10:30 when he's 15 cans deep, and he'll just sell you anyone.
You could have swapped Carlos for somebody better. You got 12 million. You actually could have swapped him for a decent player for you, I think.
Yeah, listen, right. Serginho played better than him last season.
He played 4 games.
The 2, and the likelihood is of me playing wing backs this season coming is minimal. So
you're gonna have to use that 12 million to get a personal trainer to get Viduka fit.
He's fit. He scored last night.
You look shit. I mean, not shit's maybe a little bit harsh, but he's just slow, isn't he? He's 14 acceleration. Just
what's he like in the air, Scott? Ryan.
Jumping 20, heading is 19, so it looks pretty solid there.
Yeah, if you've got Carlos putting the balls in, if not, it's fucked.
Gents, this has been a fascinating insight. Thanks to those who've stayed on, and thanks to those who joined us to talk about every club. I'd just like to conclude with everyone's predictions. I know some of you have posted predictions. I know the likes of Scott has changed his since he posted. I've been writing down my predictions, and just over the course of this call, I've changed my prediction 4 times of who's going to finish where. So what I'd like to do is just go round those that are still here and just ask you, as best as you can, 1 to 14, who's going to finish where. And for a change, I'm happy to put my head on the block first and go with what I've settled with. So I'll go top to bottom. I've put Gazelles first, Devils second, Burn third, Halls fourth, Bostock fifth, Fulchester sixth, Locomotive 7, Sloths 8, Churchtown 9, Leddersford 10, Dragons 11, Haggis 12, Dudley 13, and Astor 14. I'll go in.
Sorry, it broke up a little bit there. Was that Astor 14?
That was Astor 14, yes, mate. Someone had to be.
Below Dudley?
Unfortunately, yeah, I can't see Steve finishing last is the problem.
You can't see that.
I'll go in the order you appear on my screen.
You don't even need an imagination to see that. It's just.
Can't wait. Fucking finishing top 6 this season.
Wooder, I'll come to you first. What's your prediction 2 nights before it all kicks off?
To be honest, you've caught me a bit off guard. My prediction for the table goes, and I only think this because of the transfer deal, and it goes Bostock to finish top, followed by Burn, followed by Devils. The rest, I think Fulchester will be in there, in the top 6. The rest could be, 5 or 6 teams that could finish anywhere in amongst them.
Okay.
But my bottom 2 are my opening 2 of my opening 3 fixtures. Dudley Hill to finish bottom, and Haggis Hunters just slightly above them by about 2 points.
Duggan, you're next. Are you able to do a 1 to 14, or are you just going to sort of give us the highlights?
I think there's no greater kiss of death than Fifey backing Gazelles to finish top. That is the season done and dusted. Now let's get on to season 10. Appreciate the support, Fifey. I think Devils, Bostock and Burn will fight it out for top 3. I think that'll then be Loco and Fulchester who will have kind of a little bit of a battle between themselves. And then I think it'll be everybody else and then Dudley.
Glad you came on tonight, Steve.
Pardon?
You're glad you came on tonight, mate?
I knew what was happening. I'm still going to be diplomatic in the way I predict things. So,
Ryan, I've put my head on the block as the other chairman. Are you happy to go with your predictions and make them public?
Just going to name top 13, Ryan, please.
Ryan, I'd be interested to see your 1, 2, 3 for the 3 dicks of the Dragons.
Yeah, I won't give my full thought. I'm just actually trying to write it down. For the Dragons, I've actually gone Gazelles, Dragons, then let's.
Yes, right, well in that.
Story. But the caveat to that is that I've got none of you finishing in the top 6.
Wow.
Yeah. What about after 3 games? Is that different?
Why don't you change yours after 3 games?
I mean, I won't say what order, but I think the top 4, that's what I will give. I'm not saying what order. I've gone with Northern Burn, Bostock, Devils and Fulchester. And then, I think, as I think someone else mentioned this, but I think beyond that, I think there's potential for pretty much the next 8 teams to finish in any order. And then I think...
And then there's 2 more.
There's 2 more, and I love to other bits, man, but I really don't think your midfield's up much cut, mate. I think I really think that's something you need to look at. It's a tough ask, but you did well with it last season, so I'm definitely not writing you off. I just think it's going to be a real challenge. So I think I'm trying to be diplomatic. Like, I'm not writing you off at all. And then Steve, I think it's a disaster, isn't it?
Macca, your predictions, please.
So I haven't done a full 1 to 14, but I think top 6 is going to be a shootout between myself. This is in no order, obviously. Myself, Loco, Burn, Gazelles, Bostock and Devils.
And a bottom 2, maybe?
Dudley Hill and Churchtown. Sorry, Steve. I'll take you for a pint, mate.
Oh, yeah. I appreciate an honest one and not laughing after you said it. And
I don't know. I just feel like Haggis is going to find that one bird who's like, oh, yeah, my brother used to play this game. Here's what he used. And just smash it and finish 8th.
Oh, dear. Mr. Edwards, it's your turn, please, sir.
Well, I've been doing this too long to know that nothing good comes of listing all 14. So, top 6, in order, Bostock, us, Fulchester, Devils, Astor, Loco, and then at the bottom 3, none of them are here tonight on the show. So read it that what you will.
Astor, the first person to put Astor in the top 6. Interesting.
None of them
Yeah, because the way I see it is, and I'm going to contradict what Tato said earlier on. I mean, he had a really good season just gone with not particularly his own squad. Now he's got a bit more his own squad, and I think he'll improve. Whereas I think he was thinking 7th, 8th. I'm thinking 5th, 6th. So yeah, more accurately 5th.
Well, let's bring the man himself in. Tato, what are you thinking for your predictions?
Similar to what some of the guys have said. First of all, cheers, Ian. Fuck off, Fifey. I've got top few. I'm thinking, Devils, Bostock, Burn. I'm thinking they're shooing to the top 6. And then there's a chunk of other lads who know what they're doing and are going to be thereabouts. Boston, annoyingly, are always going to be thereabouts. Fulchester, of course, Macca's going to be knocking on the door. And I think just purely because of the squad he's inherited and the transfer made, Gazelles, I think, are right up there. And then I think, Spartak Sloths can get the ball to the strikers and they're always going to be dangerous. But there's, pretty much everybody apart from 1 or 2 at the bottom can push for that 6th place, yeah.
And would you like to say who those 1 or 2 at the bottom are going to be?
Well, for two different reasons entirely, to be fair. One of them, I think Dudley Hill finished bottom, but I'd be happy for him to prove me wrong. And the other one, Churchtown, purely because the squad is inherited and the limitations he's had on transfers. It makes a massive difference I had a similar squad of players who nobody wanted to buy. I can go into players showing them my squad screen and everyone's going, they're all shite. I'm going, I know they're all shite and they're going to retire in a year, but give me your best players for them. Churchtown's had similar, no offence, Macca with Shearer, but Churchtown had similar, but he can't do any deals if he's not going to play us to swap, so I think he'll struggle, and that's just because of squad stuff. So there's my bottom 2.
Bit of a recurring theme between Wooders' inability to shift shit, Tato's inability to shift shit, and I've been involved in both.
To be fair, they bought Janet Cheddar off me and used one of the 6 transfers for Janet Cheddar, who hasn't made the 24.
This is what, I have a grown-up conversation with Duggan. I say, do you know what, Duggan, you've raised a valid point there, mate. You've had bugger all to deal with, bugger all transfers. I'll step out, you have fallen. That's sound. Do you know what I mean? If more people displayed that behaviour in the league, this would be far more gentlemanly than talking about inserting vegetables up people's arses.
I agree.
Exactly. There's a way to conduct business, gentlemen.
Penultimate predictions from Steve, please.
Top 6 then. No particular order.
Don't say Dudley, for fuck's sake.
Devils, Fulchester, Burn. Hulls, Dudley, Bostock. Right. Gazelle 7. Sloths 8. Dragons 9. I think Greavy's going to bomb this year, and I hate to say that. 10. Alt rest coming up here somewhere.
Who's finishing bottom?
Who's finishing bottom?
Let us bet.
What is it? I can't see it until somebody says something. Can you just say
what you want, mate? What you want?
That one, yeah, with that fat, that one with that fat neck finishing bottom. If he's copying Boise all this season, right, in a season and over the last couple of seasons since Boise last won it and he bowed out and tipped his hat to Ryan, I don't think that formation will cut the mustard. That's a serious comment. Finishing bottom.
Steve was a pre-season friendly, mate.
Mate, you're going balls in for that formation.
Well, I'll tell you now, it doesn't look like that. The one that's going against Haggis, and the guys who have seen it, it doesn't look like that, mate.
Fair dues, but he's still finishing bottom left.
And finally, Scott.
Very similar to how it sort of panned out, really. I think for me, top 4 or 5 have gone in order: Devils, Burn, Bostock, Fulchester, Boston. And then the last playoff place, as everyone's alluded to, is up for grabs. At this moment in time, I see it between Dragons, Gazelles, Sloths, Haggis.
I'm nowhere near, am I?
With Dudley finishing bottom.
So what we've established is virtually everyone's predicting Dudley to finish bottom, and hardly anyone is giving last year's beaten finalists a chance of the playoffs.
Yeah, it's a fair point on Dragons. Actually, there's a lot.
I give Dragons a chance. I put a little comment about Dragons. What did I put? I think he's done good business. I think it depends how much Jamie wants it and how much is he going to be out to prove that he's King Dick against the other three. I think if he's got his mojo back and he wants it, then I think they make the six. I think we'll see how influential the other guys were as the season begins.
Just on that point, Duggan, as a final question, I asked Steve earlier if he's put any sportsman-like bets on. Is there one between the three of you guys as to who finishes top? And if not, why not?
No, nobody ever takes bets with me unless they're stupid, Steve, because they know the outcome.
I've one question, and it might be a misprint. Either that or Wooder might finish bottom. But is Fernando Torres not in your first team squad?
No, he isn't, mate. Not for the first 5 games. Not for the first 5 games, mate. He's got a system. He doesn't fit into it, fortunately.
He's too young for our sport.
He's probably your best striker.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I'll be in touch with her.
Yeah. Try and swap Sammy Ippy again.
You offered me that.
You have to.
I said, fuck off.
Yeah. No, like I say, first 5 games, we know what we're up against, so we've left him in the reserves.
You'd be sat with 14 points, won't you?
Alf wanted to put Hasselbank in, so do you know what I mean?
Just as a quick point, I would swap the Gazelle squad for the Dragon squad straight away. With the business he's done. Yeah.
Okay.
I think, I agree that Jamie's done good business.
I think that's a cop-out.
There'll be one, if not 2 of the teams, which everyone's mentioned, finishing top 5, who will go on an absolutely terrible run, an absolute disaster of a season. I mean, it's happened with Hodgie in the past. I mean, it's as a Celtic team in that first season. It was arguably the best team on paper in the league, and he finished 11th, I think it was. I mean, Dragons have gone from 14th to first in a season.
Bulls last year?
Yeah, there's going to be an absolute disaster somewhere.
My thoughts on Devils are that they've got the best squad. I think Hodgie's done some good business and probably made it a little bit stronger in that DMC area. And Hodgie is very, very consistent in what he does and his tactics and his formation. If Devils start well, they could be an unstoppable force this season.
In terms of me, though, when you look at like the sides that have finished top or got to finals, they've not been full. My transfer business has been honestly on the back of what Dragons have done, what Greavesy did first season, get a team of hard-working players that play for each other, rather than when you look, like I said, Dragons finished top, they got to the final with. Let's be honest, how many players take Barmer out? Would anybody take in their first team? Look at Greaves' team.
Davids.
Season. Right, yeah, Davids. All right. But take Greaves' team that he won it with first season. How many managers would honestly, hand on heart, take any of them players?
I would argue that on paper, that was the worst team to ever win Super. In fact, it was the worst team to ever get more than 30 points on paper.
That's where I've gone.
Disgrace.
I've gone with
tactically
that
very well drilled.
I've gone with that mentality. Shut your superstars and see where you can go.
Finish bottom.
All right. Tail, hang on a minute. Yeah, Tail. I'll put that team to the top of the league last season, and you bombed the playoffs big time, and you got over there. How about? And you're expecting playoffs again?
Where were you in the league?
Yeah, how many points did you take on me last season?
It doesn't matter.
Oh, Steve, hang on. No, I'm not listening to this shit again, Steve, because you did this to me in season 1. How many points did you take off me? I'm like, where did you finish?
Even after I took over, Steve, I finished above you. I've seen a league since when I took over and where Alf was, and I still finished above you. So it's not even my team.
Because Alf were top at league for a massive spell.
No, listen. So we split the league in two. When I took over, from the last X number of games and how many points you got and how many points I got, I still finished above you, and Alf's team's shite.
It is like,
you know, like you go into a new season, you do your transfer business, and you've always got like a plan in mind about what you're going to do this season. I have a couple of different formations that you think about using. Steve, you built your squad around 16 formations. What season? You built your squad to fit into all the different 16 formations that you'll try.
I've got 2 formations in mind, 3 DMs, 4 DMs, and that's it. That's what it is. I'm playing narrow against you, and I've got a backup at 4 DMs across. That's it. I will only play 2 formations a full season.
I will bet you £50.
I'll bet you £50. I do.
Don't bet any. Don't stay. Do yourself a favour, lad. Stop betting 50 quid.
I'm paid.
He doesn't pay up anyway. He doesn't pay up anyway, so it doesn't make a difference.
Now, I've got 2 formations set. That's why I sent in my formation for Wednesday night is called WL Season 9, and I've got a WL Season 9.1. That's it. Two formations all season. That's it.
He has a 50 quid bet. How quick does Dudley Hill Season 9 1.8, 1.9, 2.0 come in? How quickly?
Yeah, I'll sling that bet on with everybody. I've played 2 formations all season. That's it. I guarantee that.
Hold on to your cash.
That's on my boy's life. Is that? How about that? I'll bet anybody £50 with that.
Steve, does it stress you out that after the draft you had Davids, Gattuso, Carlos, Kiotis, Totti, Ronaldo, Robin, Viduka, all in your squad, and now you've got...
Well,
I don't really know who you've got.
Mendonca.
Before you start with that, it shows how much you've been paying attention. Didn't have Davids. I didn't have Viduka. So you've been paying that much attention to the league, Mr. New Manager. No,
Steve, mate. When the draft was made, you had Davids. Do you not remember having Davids?
You said transfers on draft.
No, he said the draft.
You said when first draft was made, you had Davids, Viduka. I didn't have any of them. So
Davids on the draft, mate.
Steve, mate, I've got it. I've literally got the screenshot there. Davids.
Just stop this being. Just stop this and chipping here. I think what. So in the draft versus the first actual squads are 2 different things, because there was a transfer merry-go-round pre the actual teams getting loaded. So yeah, he may not have got Davids in the draft, but he may have got him at the start of the game, if you get it.
Oh, there we go. That's there we go. Fair enough. Fair play. Fair enough. Understand that.
Still though, mate, you did have Davids in the
squad. Was class. That squad was class, Steve. So if you succeed in the squad you've got, then you're an absolute genius.
I mean, I agree that it's got progressively worse.
Well, before you all make Steve cry, I'm going to end the recording there. So anyone who wasn't able to join us that is watching this, I hope you've enjoyed it. Ryan's kicking it all off Wednesday properly. There'll be no technical issues because he's a pro and actually knows what he's doing. I hope as many of you tune in as possible to all the different streams that he'll have going on via various platforms. And to all of the managers, Steve included, good luck. Thank you very much for watching, and we will speak to you all Wednesday.